My Hero Vigilantes Episode 8 began with Koichi chasing after a convenience store thief. There wasn't any mention of it being the one he works at, but I think it's funny to imagine that this sort of crime would be personal for him. Now, in this series, the passage of time isn't always clear. But unlike My Hero Academia, we're already a few months into the crawler's journey, and this is only the 8th episode. Koichi is meant to be the Spider-Man of this world. A broke yet resourceful neighborhood hero who is really annoying for villains to deal with. With the first episode, Koichi was about as fast as a bicycle. Now he's casually on par with a motorcycle. There's also the fact that Koichi has added another tool to his arsenal. He wears a Bluetooth headset so he can talk to Popstep while he's on the move. Soon, Koichi was saved by Captain Celebrity. And after that, the way CC punched the thief off his bike was hilarious. Flying while holding the bike over his shoulder with the rider in tow was a solid indicator that this hero is really strong. By the power standards of this series, that alone would make his quirk top tier. But it is far more capable than just that. For the sake of boasting about himself, he tossed them aside with ease. And his American-Japanese accent is just great. And at that, the English television announcer bit caught me a bit off guard. It's really nice to see how much care has been put into this adaptation. There's a clear appreciation for the source material. We see CC emerge from a plane and arrive for work in Tokyo. The thought of Superman taking a flight might be a bit silly, but he came along with his hero agency. We also saw that he flew with an entire cruise ship over his head. So yeah, he has one of the greatest quirks in history. Even so, for the first time, the ever-passive Koichi was holding a grudge against someone. Ultimately, his All Might hoodies are the one line that shouldn't be crossed. Captain Celebrity's design is a mashup between the armor of a Frieza Force soldier, a cloth from Saint Seiya, and Hanawa's hairstyle from Chibi Maruko-chan. From there, we have Godzilla's attack. The emphasis on destruction and the giant villain's rampage was handled really well in the anime, especially compared to the manga, where the kaiju was hardly visible. As it turns out, Beten admitted that he's not very good at drawing giant monsters, so it seems like that avoidance was intentional. Either way, the kaiju villain was written to be more of a natural disaster than a character. One that causes a lot of destruction and has reverberating effects on the coming events. During this, we also got a look at some of Naruhata's local heroes. They're unnamed, and clearly pretty useless if the Vigilantes of Naruhata had become such notable figures. Two of them look like robots. We also caught a glimpse of them at the scene of the instant villain outbreak, and their designs were changed a bit for the anime. Captain Celebrity seemed like he was being a jerk when Koichi wanted his help, but ultimately, he is a professional with a very competent team. For as odd as they may be, they are very effective. But the crawler did manage to save a dog, which CC's agency does not prioritize. So the hero was impressed. Normally, that compliment would have been enough for Koichi to change his mind about the guy. But then CC insulted his hoodie. Another night, Captain Celebrity and the crawlers saved two people from a crumbling building. Koichi was stuck lugging back a sumo wrestler while CC held a young woman. Silliness aside, let's focus on the fact that Koichi is strong enough to give a sumo wrestler a piggyback ride. Those guys tend to hover somewhere around 300 pounds. Lifting that alone would be a heavy task. But remember the fact that they're coming from the top floor. Not to mention the fact that Koichi is not using his quirk. After all, he can't stand while using it, and we see him walking. Clearly, Knuckle Duster's training is way more effective than the beach cleanup routine that All Might had Deku doing. And despite Koichi's complaints, while vain, CC was technically doing the right thing. By not holding the sumo, he had an easier time springing into action and protecting Koichi from falling debris. It also helped maintain his public image. Details aside, consistency is key. And the visuals of him demolishing the building were far more impressive in the anime. Aside from his impact on Koichi, the performative nature of Captain Celebrity's heroism was something that an entertainer like Popstep could appreciate and learn from too. It turns out that Makoto is one of Captain Celebrity's cheerleaders and has been doing an exceptional job at his agency. But while his agency was great at stopping villains and preventing disasters, its HR team is clearly a dumpster fire. Knuckle Duster showed up and explained the infidelity scandals around the hero's name. And as expected, the manga's imagery of him in bed with a woman was removed. Not only is it a bit unnecessary to sell the point, but it may also stand to cement his vilification in the eyes of certain viewers. When Captain Celebrity first appeared in the manga, many fans really despised the guy. And looking back, Furuhashi had to acknowledge the importance of first impressions. It's sort of like how Horikoshi feels like he went a bit too far with Bakugo in the beginning of the story, at least in hindsight. Once spotted, it's unclear if Captain Celebrity recognized Koichi in regular clothes. And I think there's some humor in that. He spoke to the crawler when he didn't have his mask on, but he's so self-absorbed that it might not matter. Now, remember what we talked about with the previous breakdown. Makoto is very clever when it comes to getting what she wants. Even her detective brother's best defense against her is silence. Her brother refused to connect her to a pro hero. So, when Captain Celebrity, a top hero from the homeland of heroics, which was a focus of her college studies, showed up, she seized the opportunity. She made sure to stand out and prove herself to be an exceptional task manager. So naturally, between that and her good looks, it was only a matter of time before she caught the hero's eye directly. Knowing his womanizing history, she happily agreed to his lunch invitation and had his wife on the phone. Now, the top hero was thoroughly in her pocket. She simultaneously manipulated him into swiftly diffusing a hostage situation and reforming the image of his brand. In no time at all, she was literally calling the shots and had him working to appeal to a whole new audience. Years of being a notorious playboy shifted overnight. Makoto would have seriously been one hell of a villain. From there, the after-credits scene featured the arrival of Koichi's strict mother. Here, we see Koichi is hanging out with Popstep when he suddenly gets a call that his mom would be visiting. But in the manga version, Popstep came over and Koichi's place was a total mess. We get to see that even a typically tidy guy like Koichi was really struggling to keep up. Between work, school, and being a hero, which includes nightly patrols, he wasn't getting much sleep. When his phone rang and Popstep handed it over, Koichi's dad was the one on the line. His dad apologized before mentioning something about his mom. So it made the reader fear that something bad might have happened to Koichi's mom, which is all too common in superhero stories. And that feeling is only heightened when you turn the page and see a happy little Koichi holding both of his parents' hands. Then it goes back to being lighthearted, with the conversation actually being about his mom showing up. So yeah, the manga version definitely has more weight to it. But even then, with a voice, a hand, and the implication of a happy home and relationship with his son, we already have more from Koichi's dad than Deku's. Be sure to let us know your thoughts on everything in the comments. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.